My name is Kendra Ivins. I'm our Director of Residence Life, and I'm going to take a minute and let everyone, all of our staff who's on this call, introduce themselves and let you know what they do before we get into some of the information. Dean Lemire, do you want to go first?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Kendra. I'm Brian Lemire. I'm the Associate VP for Student Development. And welcome.
Rachel, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm the RLC for Marsh and Carlisle Hall.
Hi, my name is Katea Campbell, and I am the RLC for Richardson Hall and Green Hall.
I know Dean Wallace is on the call. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Beth Wallace, and I'm the Dean of Students.
Awesome. That's everyone who's here. That's just a small portion of the team in Housing and Residence Life who's going to be supporting you this year. We're going to go into just some brief information about what it's like to live on campus. And then we're going to go into some of the logistics of what it looks like picking a roommate and selecting a room, which is, I know, the process many of you are in right now. Mary Carmen, do you want to take us to the next slide? Awesome. Dean Lemire and I will share a little bit about what it's like to live on campus at Wofford. Most of our students do decide to live on campus all 4 years. It's a very pivotal part of the student experience here at Wofford. And it starts on August 26th for you all. Between 8 and 11 a.m. That's going to be when you are planning on moving in. We will have information that we're going to keep updated throughout the summer on our new student and housing information tab. So I would encourage you, if you haven't looked at that, to give that a quick once over. It has information about what to bring and, importantly, what not to bring, just to help you feel prepared as you're planning to come here. And then just a little overview of the team that you'll be working with or that will be here to support you. Each residence hall will have a residence life coordinator. You got to meet the two that work with your areas. And then every hall will have an RA on the hall. That's a student member who's there to support you, who they're the experts on most things on campus. And so they're able to provide information about registering for class and getting connected. And they'll be doing programming throughout the year. Dean Lemire, do you want to share anything about that?
I think that's great. I think the one thing that you had mentioned, I would just reiterate, is the resident assistants that you will get to know. This upcoming year will be one of the best resources you will have on campus. They're an incredible bunch with a lot of training, and they will be on each hall, and you will be able to use their knowledge to your advantage in a lot of ways.
And outside of just the fun, they also serve, we have a multi-level on-call staff to help with all of your needs during the day and after hours. So you'll always have support while on campus here at Wofford. You take us to the next one, Mary Carmen? So your first year, you'll be living in one of our 3 first-year residence halls. That's Green, Marsh, and Richardson Hall. All 3 will be options for you to select into. All are great places to live. Richardson is our newest residence hall. Marsh is our newest renovated residence hall with all new bathrooms, HVAC, everything as of this last summer. And Green has our newest renovated lobby area. So all very wonderful places to live. Each has a little bit that makes it exciting and has a different community. So you want to take us to that, girl? I know that a big part of the summer for you all is figuring out who you're living with and where you're living. So a big part of what we want to spend some time today is just going over that process so that it feels as easy for you all as possible. So you will have 4 steps to applying for housing for the fall. And this will all happen in the housing portal. And you'll access that through your My Wofford account. And then you'll be able to select the housing portal. And there are 4 steps that you'll need, which is first to apply for housing. You need to do that in order to select a room. Once you apply for housing, you can either create a roomie's profile. That's where you put some information about yourself to meet someone, or you can create a roommate group if you already have someone you want. And that's what will set you up to select a room. So we're going to go through a little bit of the logistics of what that looks like, so you can see what it is that you're going to experience in order to apply for housing. So the first thing that you'll do, you want to take us to the next slide, is apply for housing. Do that by July 1. If there's anything that you take out of this, it's make sure you have applied for fall housing by July 1. Even though if you have deposited by that deposit deadline, even though you are guaranteed housing, applying by July 1 means you get to select your housing. For a lot of students, they want to pick where they're living, they want to pick who they're living with, and this gives you that autonomy to do that. So complete your application on the housing portal by July 1. You there are 4 steps. If you're on your phone and want to take a screenshot, want to take a picture, we're going to go in to what each of these 4 steps looks like. So Mary Carmen, if you want to take us to the first step, it's apply now. So when you go into the housing portal, you will be able to select housing overview, and you will see what application is available now. Right now, you should see your fall 2023 incoming students application. You select apply now, and that'll take you to the next step, which is to complete your housing profile questions. It'll have you some basic questions about yourself. It should be the easiest quiz you ever take. So fill those out, and that helps this system to know a little bit about you, about who you are, so that we can match you with a roommate if you do not select one. All right, so on step 3, you will review the information. So it has some of the terms, conditions, the expectations for yours for you to look over, and you'll submit your application. And then once you submit it, you are able to complete a roomie's profile. So this is an optional step. If you are someone who is still looking for a roommate, which is still a lot of people, this is a great resource for you to do that. So the first thing that you'll do if you're wanting to create a roommate profile is on the next step, you will select roommate profile on your housing portal. That will show up after you apply. So if you're looking for it right now and you haven't applied, you won't see it. But once you apply, this will come up as an option. Once you select your roommate profile, you'll need to turn on your profile. So at the very top, you'll see a check mark that you can select to turn on your profile, and that means other people will be able to see it. And you get to decide what of that they're able to see and what information you provide. So provide the information that you think is relevant for you and that will help you match with someone the best that you can. So here's just an overview of some of the information you would expect that you might want to include. And then once you turn that on, you can start looking for roommates. So in this system, you're able to search for roommates, and search for contact features. And then once you select that roommate that you're wanting to live with, that's when you create a roommate group. If you already have someone you're wanting to live with, you can skip the roommate profile and go straight to creating a roommate group, which will be in the next slide. So again, I would say take a screenshot of this if that's helpful, just to make sure you have gone through the steps to create a roommate group. It's really pretty simple, but the big thing is make sure you have your roommate group confirmed by July 1. That's going to be whoever you are with on July 1 is who we are putting into the system for you with room selection. So to give you the best options, make sure you have that completed by July 1, so that you all are matched together. So the first thing that you'll need to do is once you apply, you'll also see an option that says roommate groups. Again, if you have not applied, this will not be showing for you. Make sure you go in, select roommate groups, and then you can create a roommate group. You can name it whatever you want. I always just remind students we get to see them. So be funny, have fun with it. But you will create the roommate group, and then that's when you get to go in and invite people. So if you want to, that's when you can, if you have someone that you're wanting to live with, you will name the roommate group whatever you want, and then you invite them with their Wofford email. So make sure as you're talking with someone, if you all, I know a lot of the students will connect either on Snapchat, Instagram, on a separate communication system, make sure you get their Wofford email in order to send them this invitation. That's going to be what invites them to join your roommate group. And then the important piece is that they have to accept your invitation, because you could invite 5 different people. It's only going to be who accepts your invitation into your roommate group. That's going to be the roommate group you stay with. So if you see here with this example, there should be a green check mark once your roommate group is confirmed. So for those of you who have already created a roommate group, I would encourage you today, go in and look and see if the person that you are wanting to room with, if they've accepted that invitation, or maybe they're waiting for you to accept your invitation. Make sure there's that green check mark by your name. Otherwise, it will not show that you all are confirmed roommates. So make sure you've got that green check mark. Once both people have that, you're good to go. And just make sure that's done by July 1. And then anyone who has done that is able to participate in room selection. So all of our first year students are going to be, our freshman students are going to be participating in room selection between July 11th and July 13th. This is going to be those students with the paired roommate groups will go first to get as many of those double beds filled. And then any of our students who do not have a confirmed roommate group would be selecting second. So what it will look like is you will get an email that will have your time, that will say, this is the time that you are assigned to come in and to select housing. So you'll be able to, at that time or before, go in and go to your housing overview tab of the housing portal. Once you do that, up to a week before room selection, you'll be able to actually look at what rooms will be available. So this is going to be the full list of rooms, and you'll be able to see it live and see live what spaces are available. So even if you go in 15 minutes before your room lottery time opens, you'll be able to see what spaces you expect that are still available. It will count down to tell you when you are ready to select a room. You are able to go through and look at rooms and favorite ones. So if you really want to be in green 120, then you could favorite those by clicking a star, and that puts them at the top of your search, which makes it a lot easier when you're selecting a room. So when your lottery time opens, we'll show you what that will look like. It will. That's when you will be able to actually go in and select a room. You can view them up until that time, but once your time opens, you can select whatever room is available that you would like. You'll select the room that you want. You'll click on the little bed icon. So as long as it doesn't have a red circle with a line through it, that means it's available. So you'll click on the bed, and once you click the bed, you can choose the bed, and then you're able to go ahead and make that placement. And then the last thing that you'll do is you'll place your roommate group. So if I select a bed and Rachel is my roommate, then when I select a bed, I'll say, yes, I want to place my roommates in this room with me. And the system will automatically go ahead and put Rachel in the bed in my room. So that way it makes it real easy, and you all can go ahead and have your room together. I will say what can happen, and this is a pretty common question. So what happens with the housing lottery is it takes everyone who is in our housing application, kind of shuffles it up and gives you all a time randomly. So it can be the case that one roommate has a way earlier time than the other roommate, and that's okay. You all can use whichever time that you prefer. If the first roommate wants to go ahead and select, they can select and pull in both roommates, and that will get housing for both of you. So most people tend to go with whoever has the earliest time, which is just kind of an advantage. But anyone of the group can select the room. So if the person with the earliest time is busy, the person with the later time would be able to select the room for both people. So that's how you go through and select a room. That's the process, and that's going to be what you expect. And that's going to be how you pick a roommate, pick the space, and select your room. Hopefully that process is smooth, but we will be here. If you have questions, you can feel free to call us and email us. We have reslife@wofford.edu is our email, and we have a number of staff on that in order to answer those questions as easy and as quickly as possible. Are there any questions just about where you all are right now? I know we will get more into move-in as we get closer to time and about living on campus, but I want to make sure that is the thing that's coming up most quickly for you all. And I wanted to see if you have any questions about just that selecting roommates, housing, or anything about living on campus. That's a good question. If both students cannot sign in at an assigned time, that's something that if you email us, we can talk through some options and some solutions of what that could look like for you. It kind of depends on when you would be available. When will you find out your assigned time? That's a great question. So it will be between that week of July, that July 1 deadline and that July 11th. So we expect it to be really in the July 7th or 8th timeline is when you would get an idea of when your timeline would be, just to give time to process all of the applications and get you all that information. What if you have not picked out a roommate? That's fine. You still have, if you haven't picked a roommate by July 1, that just means you would be the second group to select your room in order to provide as many double beds to those who have roommates. You would still select into a space with another person. So you will have a roommate, but it's okay if you haven't picked a roommate by that time, if that's the case. So if you're part of an athletic team, you still get to select a room the same as everyone else. So a lot of teams will choose to pick rooms next to each other, but that's kind of up to you all. And a lot of the coaches will be able to help facilitate some of that communication. But that's up to you all. If you all want to live right next to each other, you can just pick rooms right next to each other.
Ms. Kendra, I'm gonna jump in for just a second, if that's okay. I see a question asking about those that live local. Sometimes in the past, they've been able to move in a day early. Couple things. One is just continue to pay close attention to your FY link. That information is updated, I don't want to say on a daily basis, but on a weekly basis. And so that kind of very specific information will be sent out to everybody once those decisions have been made. There has been the last few years, especially with COVID, that where we allowed for like 3 PM till 10 o'clock at night, those that were in town could move stuff in. No one was given keys. No one actually moved into those spaces. All that will still happen on that Saturday, but those schedules are still being decided. So that information will get out to everybody. Just continue to look at your My Wofford link on the FYI link, and that will continue to give you the most up-to-date information. The one thing I would share with everybody, and again, this will be more information will come out, and we'll have an actual whole session on this, I believe, later in the summer or later in July. But just to continue to look at that checklist, that is the biggest advice we all can give you, and you will hear that to you over and over during the summer. The biggest advantage you will have to help yourself make it the most easiest of days of move-in, whenever that may be, that day, is to have all that checklist done. All the other officers will be here. We'll be able to help you straighten anything that you may need help with that day. But if you can get everything else taken care of, get your ID turned in, your picture approved, your registration, your bills paid, all of that taken care of beforehand, that will go to such a big advantage to you on that day that you do move in. So I do mention that. And the one thing that I would just reiterate that I heard today from all the great information is July 1st is a very important day. make sure you get your information out and completed by July 1st as far as your housing form. And for those that don't have a roommate, every year is different. I will just tell you from the years past of doing this for almost 30 years, there's a very high percentage that don't have roommate specific choices. And that's why those profile info questions are so important. And the Residence Life Office does a great job of matching folks up that will have similar answers. So I would just tell you to take those questions very seriously. And then the one last thing I'd mention, and I'll get out of the way and get some of these other questions answered. When I listen to seniors and they get ready for graduation every spring, one thing that I hear them talk about to freshmen, that they talk about to underclassmen, is when they look back at their freshman year, they don't think near as much about what building they were in, what residence hall. What they think about is the relationships they developed and built and the memories they have of that freshman year. So I would just tell all of y'all, just that is one thing, take advantage of when you get here this fall, is those relationships, and not get so hung up worried about which residence hall you're in, but just who your roommate is and getting to know them, whether you choose them or don't, and getting to know the folks on your hall and the RAs, the orientation staff that you'll get to know. All those will be great resources that will have so much a big part of your memories that you'll have your first semester.
Yeah. And I think kind of hitting on that, most of our students for all 4 years want to live on campus, because that is such a central part of the Wofford experience. And those relationships and those connections are so important. I want to hit a couple of the questions that I saw. Let's see. I saw the question, if there's 2 green check marks with both the names in the roommate group, that does mean that they're good. Your roommate is good and confirmed. If you're wanting to take the luck of the draw. So one option is you still participate in room selection. You would be able to select a room and just select to live with someone random. And then, or if you don't select, we would then end up placing people, again, kind of like Dean Lemire said, as best as we can based on those questions. But that will be kind of at the end after we finish room selection for everyone who participates there. Let's see. Yes, and selection times will come out prior to the week of July 11th. We're planning on the end of the week before. Everyone will get their email just saying when their selection time opens. You can select a room after that selection time. That's just when it becomes available. So it's kind of like buying like concert tickets. You can get in at a certain time. Hopefully it's not like buying Taylor Swift concert tickets, but it is like buying concert tickets. Or once it opens, you are able to go in and select a space. But you can also select it later. It's just the longer you wait, the less options become available. Let's see. I see the kitchen and I'm sorry, the kitchen in Richardson. There is not in Marsh or Green, unless I'm mistaken, Dean Lemire. He's been here for longer than I have, unless I'm mistaken there.
No, I wish there were more kitchens available on campus, but as far as the freshman area, Richardson is the only one with an actual kitchen for public use.
Let's see. I think that's all the questions that I'm seeing. If I missed yours, if you want to add it to the bottom.
Ms. Kendra, one thing I thought of too that you mentioned that I would just mention one more time. I love talking. I love meeting people. I love those face-to-face conversations, especially during the summer. There's just so much information going out. I would just remind people to keep looking at that FYI site. That's where all the information that we will continue. And as people ask questions, if the information is not there, that's where we'll add it, because we're constantly meeting each week to update that website. But I would also remind people, if you've got questions, phone calls are great. But to get the quickest answers during the summer, to email that Residence Life address, which was reslife@wofford.edu. That is such a great way, because there's constantly people there looking at that email and trying to answer questions as quickly as possible. Where phone calls, they only can answer them so quickly when we're all in training and things like that throughout the summer and meetings. So just as a one reminder that Kendra said, I think is great advice.
Yeah, I think that's great, especially right now where our office is under construction. It's definitely a lot easier for us to get to emails quicker. I see a couple of specifics about some of the residence halls. So all of the freshman spaces are the same in that they are traditional style residence halls, which is 2 people to 1 room with community restrooms. All of our halls also have individual stall restrooms, as well as the community restrooms. So all of our freshman spaces are the same in that aspect. There's honestly just different preferences for each one. Marsh has more study spaces and common spaces on each hall. Richardson has that kitchen, and Green has the biggest lobby community area in the center. So really all 3 have different preferences, kind of based on what it is that you're wanting. Let's see. But I think a couple people asked about athletic specific. We do not have athletic specific facilities. So sometimes teams will decide to live near each other and they can select those rooms, but there are not any specific. All dorms do have laundry facilities. They also have trash rooms on each hall as well for those spaces. You are allowed to have fridges and microwaves. We also have a partnership with Micro Fridge, where if you want to rent out a micro fridge, they deliver them to the room at the beginning of the year and they pick them up at the end. So if you don't want to carry a fridge around, that's also a really great resource as well. But none of the residence halls are 4-person or suite style for freshmen. After your freshman year, that becomes an option for some spaces, but your freshman year is all going to be traditional style housing. I think that's all the questions that I'm seeing as of right now. So
yeah, I think that's all of the questions. Y'all skillfully made it through those. I just wanted to make a note. There were some questions. Oh, there was just one more from Shelly. If y'all could answer that one, and then we'll do some close up.
yeah, so that's a great question. When you are selecting a room, there's a couple ways that you can filter. So if you really want to be in green, you can select based on the building you're wanting, and it will show you the rooms that are available in that building. And it will show you will know when you're selecting, it will say like green 104 bed 1. So it'll be very clear what room or what building you're selecting. There are video tours of each of the residence halls on the Wofford housing page. So if you go to Wofford and you select student experiences and you select residence life, you can see video tours of each of our first year halls. There's also a video for the housing selection process that we talked about today. And the size may vary. They're generally pretty consistent, but there can be a little bit of change from one room to another. So we don't want anyone like going and buying something very specific to just because there can be some nuances of where certain inlets change or where an AC unit is that can change the dynamic. There are not pots and pans provided for the kitchen, but you can bring your own. Any other?
All right. Yeah, final call for questions. As we close up Terrier Talk, I just want to mention there was a question about, do you want to answer, Dana, real quick, just to close things out?
It will be between July 11th and 13th, depending on your selection time.
Great. All right. And I see that there's another question to me. I will get to that before I close out. I just wanted to let everybody know that the registration for all of these FYI, all of this, this first year Terrier Talk is on your FYI page. It is on the right-hand column. You can click on that. I know we had some technical difficulties last week. We are back up and running. And so we should not have any more issues with that. If you do have some issues about things going to spam folders and things like that, we reach out to admission. Residence Life cannot help you in that way. But if you do have questions about housing, please reach out to them. If you have questions about these emails or email addresses, we will be happy to help. And I will answer one question from Vicki and Mark. The dorms are co-ed, but separated by floor or sides of the hall with different restrooms for each. Is that how you guys would answer that question there?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Okay, great. All right. We have recorded this session. We will be letting everybody know where to find those recordings in our next email. And we do have another Terrier Talk happening tomorrow. It is at 4 o'clock. It is about advising, which is, living and academic life on campus are two of the most important things that you are going to be doing on a college campus. So please join us for that. Thank you to everyone who took time out of their schedule to join us and provide all of this information. Folks over in student development and residence life, we are so thankful for your hard work for this. So please let us know if you have any questions and reach out to separate offices with any other questions. Thanks, everybody.